Something really strange has been happening in U.S. financial markets over the past few weeks. CEOs and corporate insiders have been dumping stocks at a far faster rate than we have ever seen before. Do they know something the rest of us don't? If the stock market is booming, as the media keeps insisting, and this rally will go on forever like many investors want to believe, then why are these insiders selling their stocks as fast as they can before the year is over? Why some are still choosing to believe that stock prices will continue to soar into the stratosphere, those who are in the top tiers of the market are heading for the exits. Of course, if they can see that a brutal stock market crash is fast approaching, the perfect time to get out is now. After all, you can only make money in the stock market if you get out before the bubble bursts, and it seems like many of the richest people in the world have come to the realization that risks have become too big, especially with the emergence of a new virus variant that already has triggered a crash in some stocks. Perhaps this is the best time to initiate sell-off mode before the whole market irreversibly collapses. According to CNBC, some big names in the industry have been selling billions of dollars worth of stock over the past few weeks. At least $69 billion in stock have been recently dumped by CEOs and corporate insiders as lofty share prices seem to have reached their peak. This is the perfect window to collect profits before losing them. From Satya Nadella at Microsoft to Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, CEOs, founders, and insiders have been cashing in their stock at the highest pace on record. As of Monday, sales by insiders are up 30% from 2020 to $69 billion, and up 79% versus a 10-year average, and that's according to Insider Score Verity, CNBC reported. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, the richest men on the entire planet, each sold $10 billion in stock already. According to Ben Silverman, Director of Research at Insider Score Verity, the top four super sellers are Musk, Bezos, the Waltons, and Mark Zuckerberg, who account for 37% of total stock sales so far. He said the increase in the dollar value of insider sales in 2021 can be attributed to multiple factors, with historically high stock valuations being the primary driver. He continued to say the presence of super sellers during the period has helped pump up sales total. These insiders know that stock valuations can't stay this high if production is slowing down, and soon the rest of the market is going to know that as well. They've just started to act before everyone else realized the actual risks they're in for. And the year isn't over yet. With each passing day, more and more big names are going to sell billions more in stock. Interestingly, this sell-off has begun just as the U.S. economy has started to fall apart again. We are currently facing the worst supply chain crisis in history. Our store shelves are getting emptier while inflation is pushing the price of everything to sky highs. In fact, we haven't seen these levels of inflation since the 1970s. And the worsening chaos in our streets is compromising economic activity in many of our largest urban areas. Unfortunately, we cannot say we did not see this coming, particularly because since the beginning of the health crisis, our federal government and the Federal Reserve have printed, they've borrowed, and then they've spent trillions of dollars that we could not afford to spend. Our economy and our financial system have rapidly become worn out by so much liquidity, but we certainly did experience a sugar high for a little while. But now we're having to deal with the consequences of these measures, and there's plenty of evidence that the economy is slowing down again. For instance, this Thanksgiving, brick-and-mortar sales dropped by 90.4% from 2019 levels, and that's according to data released by Sensormatic. Retail giants were already expecting this to happen. That's why Target, Walmart, and Best Buy opted to keep their doors closed to customers on the holiday. Target even said this could be a permanent shift. On Black Friday, retail sales dropped by 28.3% compared with 2019 levels, as consumers were faced with fewer choices and higher prices due to shortages and delivery delays. But the mainstream media wants us to believe that retail sales are down because online sales are booming. However, the latest figures show that this simply is not true. On Cyber Monday, sales were down for the first time ever. Online sales declined by 1.4% from year-ago levels, according to data released Tuesday by Adobe Analytics. It was the first time that Adobe has tracked a slowdown in spending on major shopping days since the firm first began reporting on e-commerce back in 2012. This year, discounts have been considerably weaker compared with past holidays, which gave consumers less of a reason to log on and look for deals or discouraged them from spending altogether. The fact that Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales were down, despite the trillions in stimulus handed to consumers over the past 2 years, is a sign that money cannot fix our problems anymore. The truth is that at this point, more artificial money will only bring more real problems. Inflation on everything from fuel to raw materials is leading businesses to pass on those increased costs to consumers. The Adobe report also highlighted that the final price point of consumers' shopping carts on Cyber Monday jumped by 13.9% year over year. Meanwhile, the latest manufacturing figures were quite a disappointment. Actually, manufacturing rates today are lower than they were at the peak of the health crisis in 2020, tumbling 58.3% in November. Chris Williamson, chief business economist at IHS Markit, explained that the biggest problem for manufacturing at this moment is the never-ending chaos on our supply chains. Broad swathes of U.S. manufacturing remain hamstrung by supply chain bottlenecks and difficulties filling staff vacancies. Widespread shortages of inputs meant production growth was again severely constrained, to the extent that the survey is so far consistent with manufacturing acting as a drag on the economy during the fourth quarter, he said. While demand remains firm, Chris Williamson added, November brought signs of new orders growth cooling to the lowest so far this year, linked to shortages limiting the scope to boost sales, and signs of pushback from customers as prices continued to rise sharply during the month. The rate of input cost inflation hit a new high, hinting at a squeeze on margins, Williamson added. There's no wonder why so many people on Wall Street are getting spooked by the latest economic reports. With companies recording lower sales and lower profits and manufacturing collapsing all around the country, the yield curve has started to collapse. And an imminent policy tightening by the Fed threatens to depress economic activity even further. At the same time, the mainstream media keep trying to put a positive spin on our economic issues. Just a couple of days ago, CNN published an article entitled, "Why Inflation Can Actually Be Good for Everyday Americans and Bad for Rich People," in which it argued that inflation can actually be a good thing for many working-class Americans, especially those with fixed-rate debt like a 30-year mortgage. That's because wages are going up, which not only empowers workers but also gives them more money to pay down debt. Plus, in the case of a mortgage, your monthly payment will be the same, but your house will increase in value. The trouble is, you're not going to feel the upside immediately, the article continued. You know, it would be amazing if any of this was true. But inflation is rising way faster than wages. The cost of living is escalating at record speed. So how can you pay down your debt if you have to direct a bigger share of your monthly budget to afford the same things you used to a couple of years ago? We also cannot forget that home prices are increasing in value because the housing market is in a speculative bubble that only exists as long as the Fed keeps pouring more money into the system. But those days are counted, and artificially suppressed mortgage rates are about to soar. Home prices will have to readjust soon, which means that properties, just as stocks, will see their value crashing. And homeowners, just as frenzied investors, will be left scrambling with some, I'm afraid, painful financial losses. Inflation may be helpful during economic booms when people's incomes are similarly growing, manufacturing is strong, and fundamentals are stable. Needless to say, this is not what is happening right now. This is not an economic boom, and wages hikes are dismal. Everything is falling apart around us, and inflation is definitely making things worse. Our standard of living is being destroyed, and millions of Americans are falling out of the middle class and straight into poverty. To make it worse, as if we didn't already have enough on our plates, the new virus variant has arrived in the United States. This week, California identified the first confirmed case of the new virus strain. During a White House news briefing, Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, revealed that the case was in an individual who traveled from South Africa on November 22nd and tested positive for the virus on November 29th. The person was fully vaccinated and is experiencing mild symptoms which are improving at this point, Fauci said. Even though there is no evidence that this new strain is any more dangerous than the other variants that are already floating around, what do we see when we turn on the news? More and more hysteria! They keep spreading panic but telling us, not to panic. At this point, several countries have reinstated lockdowns, travel restrictions, and more mandates. Nothing is going to stop global leaders from doing even more damage to the world economy. And those in a position of power across the global industry and markets can see that more economic damage is coming. That's why they've started to strategize before it's too late. There are many heavy clouds on the horizon. A perfect storm is just around the corner, and when it comes to 2022, you should get prepared for the worst case scenario. Thank you very much for watching. If this video has given you serious food for thought, we strongly recommend you to check out 7-Year Apocalypse, written by the economist Michael Snyder. Keep tuned to our channel to stay updated with future videos.